Hi guys, Luke here from Weekend Tour Pros, and you're joining me today at Precision Golf in Surrey. Now you guys might have watched my video from Precision Golf a couple of weeks ago where I was with Simon and we were looking at whether or not to fit a 4 hybrid or a 7 wood into my golf bag. If you haven't watched that and that's of interest to you, I'll put a link to it in the top corner for you. We're with Tom today and we're going to do a putter fitting. It's the final piece, the missing piece of the jigsaw for my golf bag, is to work out, is the putter I'm currently gaming the right one for me, or is there a better alternative out there? Now, one of the things that was really interesting to me is I've never ever had a putter fitting in the sort of 10 years that I've been playing golf. And when I spoke to a few of my friends, none of them bar one has ever had a putter fitting either. And I was trying to work out what the reason is for that, because ultimately the putter, Tom, we use it more than any other club in the bag. And in my experience, probably yours too, most people keep their putter for longer than any other club in the bag. So why wouldn't we get them a custom fitting? And I think the reason for that in most people that I've spoken to is they didn't really understand what happens in a putter fitting. They didn't realize there was technology like a TrackMan that exists for putting these days, and most of their experiences of people that have had them is go out on the putting green, pick up a few putters and see which one you like the look and feel of. What Tom is going to do for us today is show us what happens in a proper putter fitting, the value that can be had from it, and hopefully at the end of this session we'll work out if I've just got poor technique that needs to be improved and that my current putter is the right one, or whether or not one of these shiny new putters around us in the studio today is the right one for me. So Tom, looking forward to your help. Let's get stuck in. So we've just got into the putting studio and with Tom, who's going to be doing the fitting today, and we're just about to get started. So Tom, talk us through the process we're going to go through today.
So, going to let you have a bit of a warm up first, essentially get the speed of this green. It's quite quick, it runs faster than Augusta. So yeah, it's a bit of a different pace to what you'll be used to. The reason why we need this service to be quick, our Quintic system underneath there, the camera, needs to really see a true ball roll. So we're going to get a great understanding of what you're doing. The putter face, it's going to give us loads of data, all your rotation, face angle, impact, launch angle. I mean, the data's forever.
And I think the thing with Quintic is, my understanding is the simplest way for the viewers is to think of it as TrackMan or quad for putting.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, it's just analysing what you're doing. Yeah, like a TrackMan system, it's just very, very in detail. The frame per second rate is incredible. So yeah, we can really slow it down and show a lot of data, and yeah, obviously start to see what a putter can do for you or whether you need to make changes in your stroke and go from there. So Perfect. What you're doing is you've got that imaginary cup there. What you're trying to do is basically putt and let the ball hit the board at a nice pace, not racing over, but not dying into the board and not quite getting there.
Okay, let's see what happens. First putt, this could be a disaster.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Is that sort of speed or a bit faster?
Yeah, that's pretty good pace, to be fair. So
my gut feel is I bought this putter when I had a different putting stance. I do like the chunky putters. I definitely like a chunky grip. That's something I've always felt. Even though I've got small hands and have undersized grips on my clubs, I do like something a little bit meatier, I guess, on the grip. But this is a little, I now feel it's a little bit long for me. That might be something you disagree with when we look later today, but I do feel like since I've changed my putting stance, it does feel like I'm almost like crabbed up here a little bit and there's no space for my arms to hang or anything like that, but it'll be interesting to see what you find.
Yes, I mean, your putter being 35 inches, it's on the, I mean, probably coming back up to a more average size or on the longer side at the moment. I'd probably say there was a period a few years ago where more putters were going to sort of 33 inches, but I'd say that's generally come back up to 34.
Okay.
The industry would say that their putters they generally send out to the shops and things are averaging around that sort of length. Yeah, from what I can see here, it does look a little bit long based on your technique of where you're crowding it. I'd probably say looking at your technique there, we might want to get you a little bit more up just to give you a bit of space. The putter, the putter you have overall, really, really nice putter, sort of loft and lie angle, pretty sort of normal with how Odyssey set their putters up. So around the 70 degree in your lie angle, 3 degrees on the loft. Weight-wise, it's one of the more heavier ones. It does swing heavy. So, and obviously, as we said off camera, it feels like when you're doing the short putts, it can feel a bit meaty off the hit, so you have to be quite delicate, but the longer ones feel a bit easier to control. Yeah, that's a nice pace there.
In terms of sort of what I feel is my miss when I'm putting, I don't know again if this is useful or not, but I feel like when I'm putting well, my miss is a push.
Okay.
I feel like when I'm putting badly, I pull across a lot of putts.
Yeah, so you can see just drifting down that side. So yeah, the Quintic system essentially uses a dot system for stickers on your putter and on the balls itself.
Yeah, I've noticed we've got like 3 dots on the ball here as well as the line on them, and I can see already on the sort of screen those 3 dots seem to be coming up on the screen behind
Yeah,
us.
so what we're going to do is basically where the camera is underneath the light there, we're going to be putting those dots facing the camera.
Yep.
That's going to be able to pick up the roll. You've obviously got the line there, so you can use the line. I know again, off camera you said you like a line on the ball, so you'll be able to line that up.
Yep.
We've got the dots on the putter here. I'm actually going to calibrate you into the machine first, so what that means is you set up in your posture and you'll basically stay still for about 10 seconds and the machine will locate your putter.
Okay.
We'll then input some data, so we've got to put some measurements from dot to dot on the heel and the toe, from the middle of the putter through, and then also the angle of the shaft as it enters the putter, which can make a difference on how the putter rotates or doesn't rotate. Good. You'll see a little bit of data on there.
Greens are good, ambers are okay, and reds are bad?
Yeah, so it's like a traffic light system. It basically, if you've got red, it needs to be worked on, it needs to be addressed. If you've got amber, could be good, could be bad, something we need to look at, and green's great. And if you pop off a blue number as well, that's even better because that means you're robotic. So
there's your bad one.
Yeah.
The one that I hate, the one that feels like it's pulled
yeah.
and it accelerates a bit more and
Yeah.
everything. That's the one I really don't like.
Yeah, and you can see how the face angle's got closed there.
Yeah.
The only good thing that comes from a closed face angle is the launch itself. It brings the launch down, so it means that you generally get a good roll on the ball. But that's where you'll find that a pull putt will go further because it's rolling a little bit better.
That makes perfect sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem you'll get now is I'll probably go the other way now and I'll be desperate to push this down the other side.
Yeah, you want to make that adjustment.
And actually that's probably, in terms of line, the best one I've hit on a line so far.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see from where you're angled over, there is a little bit of the arms, hands getting involved.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really good putt, but it's almost a case of when we look at the data, and when I'm watching you set up, your tendency is to aim that little bit left and then just almost bring it in with the hand slightly.
Yep.
So yeah, your initial bit is aim a little bit to the left, and then there you closed it off nicely, got the putter in the right place, and you end up with actually a robotic face angle. What we've also all got to factor in, putting is really, really hard.
Yeah.
When you actually think at 8 feet, 1 degree left or right, and you'll miss the hole.
Yeah.
So when you factor in, this is on a dead straight putt, by the way.
Yes.
So you've then got break, you've then got, is the green actually a true green? Obviously coming into winter, you're going to get all those bobbles. The pitch marks tend to be a little bit deeper. Everything's spike marks tend to be a little bit deeper. So yeah, it's because the process, like a long game, you can get something, you can get the hands, you've got time to make an adjustment. If you feel the backswing wasn't quite right, you can almost save it a little bit. Because it's such a short distance, any sort of manipulation, because it has to be so small, it's almost impossible for us to feel that. It becomes bigger and then...
That makes perfect sense, it really does.
Okay, good.
That probably again felt as good as I can hit a putt in terms of stroke.
Yeah, I'd say your strike seems pretty good. I mean, yeah, again, so the club twist element we have there, that's telling us where you're hitting the ball on the putter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, if you catch it on the toe, you're going to get a little bit of deflection to the left for you, on the heel to the right. Again, a bit like a driver, it's just there's no gearing on a putter, so where a driver will try and work you back, a putter will just keep it down that line. You're fantastic with your strike across the board. Generally, you've been hitting the middle, so that's always a good thing with putting. If you can find the middle of the putter, you can actually start to make the improvements. Again, like any club, if you can find the middle, it's then you can build the swing around it.
That makes perfect sense, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a opening to closing element of what you're doing. Now, whether that's because of the angles changed or what you're doing, but your tendency, based on the data I can see, is always aim slightly up the left. Bring it in, and then you just let the putter slowly close through. On your good day, it almost feels like it's a left edge and then you're just slightly pulling it in. On your bad day, it's almost starting straight or right edge and then it's working away from the hole. So we've got 5 putts there. Now what you're looking at is the red dot that's just hidden behind number 5 is your average. So you can see there, most of your putts are sort of straight, one a tiny bit left lip inside. absolutely happy with that at 15 feet. You can see number 2 is that bad putt, that one that wants to dive right on you. And number 1, number 5 are just trailing down that right edge as well. So yeah, on this straight putt, you can see it almost brings out that tendency because you know it's straight. It's hard to sort of think, okay, I can aim that way. You're trying your best, but that's where the hands can get involved and almost the eyes get lured into, it must be a straight putt. I've got to pull it that way to get it adjusted. Yeah, going through the data, obviously we can show your viewers this after. Now, the important things with what you see there, face rotation, the number 1 most important thing in putting, because it's how do you return the putter consistently. Now, I've had putters who have had a slightly higher rotation. Yours is green, so that's fantastic. Again, what we want to do is try and keep it under minus 40 degrees of rotation as you're coming through. So this is a pre-impact putt. If you've got, let's say, 80 degrees or so of rotation, what that means is the putter's opening up on the way and it's sort of coming through, and you're either going to need a putter that slows down that rotation or helps you with that rotation, or you need to improve your technique. Because if you don't, then you're going to find that every time you deliver the putter, it could over accelerate, or you're going to have to push it a little bit more to try and control that. What then links into that is your face angle there, which you can see again, a nice green number, which is great. Anything under 0.75 either side will go up green because that's enough to go in at 8 feet. Once you drift outside that, it's about speed. So if you're slow, it might catch the edge. If you're a bit quick, you're going to get one of those burnouts on the left or right hand side. And unfortunately, yeah, you've got to tap in from there. But again, it shows you how accurate you have to be. When people say I don't hold my fair share of 8 to 10 footers, there's a reason for that, because it's actually very difficult to hold your fair share of 8 to 10 footers. What I'd say is most putters should look at what can you hold from 4 feet and in. That's really where you've got to make the difference. I'd probably say for any mid to high handicapper, when you go out on the putting green, really concentrate on that element, because you're probably going to have more putts from that distance and 40 feet than you will from 10.
I think that's even like outside of the fitting, that's just something I think everyone should take away from today, which is when you're out on the putting green, warming up for your round or doing your practice, don't go and hit that 8 foot, 10 foot putt time and time again to 3 or 4 cups. Go and get a feel for what that 25, 30 footer is, because you're probably going to hit a lot of them as a handicap golfer, and then practice that 3, 4 foot around the hole and getting comfortable holding it and being kind of, I guess, not tentative with your stroke, which I can be. I think that's a great tip. And I think that even backed up in like strokes gained. I think like, was it 32 feet, the PGA Tour 2 putt range? If you can get, as a handicap golfer, that you feel like you're close to that, you're going to be improving your putts per round. You're going to be improving your confidence on the greens, aren't you, as well? So I think that's a really great tip as well, Tom. So
yeah, I mean, data-wise, when we analyse it, you're not in a bad place. Like your acceleration, that's a really key one. A lot of people get that wrong. Data has sort of, again, given us, I was taught when I was younger to shorter back, accelerate the putter through. Now, the problem with that is the repeatability again. So what we found with the data is actually now we're starting to find that you can be what they call a more constant speed, so where you're not accelerating the putter as much, even down to the point of you can have a tiny bit of deceleration, it still be effective as a putt. What you've got to imagine, Mike, one of the coaches who has moved on from here but worked, he gave an analogy that I believe he got from, might have been Phil Kenya or someone, but if you imagine getting in your car, going to a set of lights, and someone said, right, drive through those lights at 100 miles an hour, would you find it easier to build up your speed to 100 and just hold that 100 miles an hour through the lights, or would you find it easier to accelerate and try and hit it at 100 right on the mark?
Definitely be at the consistent speed, right? It's easier to stay at a speed than it is to try and get it and hit it at the exact time. And that makes perfect sense there, isn't it? If you're trying to accelerate through the putt the whole time, how do you make sure that's consistent time after time after time? Or if you've got a rhythm that feels very one-to-one, it's your natural rhythm, then that must be easier to maintain.
And I think that's what it shows on you, because you've got a good acceleration pace of you're able to time and time again do the same move. Yes, albeit it might be a little bit sometimes good, sometimes bad, but you're able to repeat it. And on your day, you'll repeat it really well. Just on your off day, you're going to be a little bit too far away. But that's where I think a bit of technique, and I'm going to talk you through that, may help you in the long run.
Brilliant.
To go through. But yeah, no, numbers really good there.
Thank you.
Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch it over to, and we're going to just have a look at your technique first. Because I want to see what you do without changing putter.
Okay.
Now, one thing I'd say from where you've set up, obviously you have changed from where you said to me you were.
Yeah,
up
I was almost, you know,
Yeah.
as upright as almost a bit Bryson kind of,
Yeah.
almost as upright as I could be, holding the putter as I could be. You know, toe was definitely kind of down, and I was almost putting very like that if I go back 6 months ago. And I've probably gone the other extreme now of being very Jordan over it, a bit like too much maybe.
Yeah, and that's the thing of, again, there's coaches out there, and that's what I'd always say of if you can find the right coach that you gel with, someone who uses this sort of data. But yeah, from a technique of what I know, the information that I've learned from people like Mike and things like this, of getting your arms more in that sort of relaxed position here, you're over this way. So what happens is it's very hard for you to rock your body in the same motion.
Yep.
So therefore you become quite reliant upon your forearms and wrists at impact to steer the ball into the hole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I'd say is, yeah, we don't want to go back to where you were, but definitely from a point of view of going from here, I would try and get yourself a little bit extended up so you can just feel like your arms, yeah, maybe even a touch higher than that, just fractionally. There you go.
Okay.
And then I think that's just going to allow you to be able to almost, I look at it using the upper body a lot more.
Yeah.
That's, again, something that wasn't taught. It was always said to me, oh, it's an arms sort of and shoulder movement. Now it's really actually used, and you feel like you use your chest, everything rotates. It's just the lower half stays still. And then you should be able to consistently allow the putter to rock a little bit more.
Even making that change, I can move this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. Yeah, definitely do feel that.
And if you think of like your big muscles of what you're using there, so your shoulder blades, like the muscles in between, your chest as well, these are big muscles that don't technically rotate that much. They're much more sort of forward and back. They'll go side to side, but they're very hard to sort of move around unless you really force it. If you think of your arms and wrists, they're hypermobile, they'll move everywhere. So when you use your big muscles to control most of the putt, it's more likely you're going to be able to return that putter in the same fashion.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It really does. It really does. So are you feeling, again, I'm making sure I don't go too far the other way, but are you feeling like there a bit more?
Yeah,
then?
I think that then is what brings your putter back into where you were saying about the length of it. It's then a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it is.
I'd say from there you look like someone who's going to have an attempt to hit a nice putt, rather than over here. Don't get me wrong, you weren't out of control, but it always just looks like it's going to be about how you do this rather than how you do this.
Yeah. So I've probably gone from one extreme too much the other way, overcompensated the other way, and it's like now let's find that happy medium in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy I always used when I was coaching was it's don't let the medicine become the poison. Again, I learned that from my coach. So yeah, you go to a professional, you go to a putting coach, they give you something to work on, you're like, great. You see the benefit, but you keep taking that medicine, you keep going further and further because it's what you've been told, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now it's starting to become a problem. Now I'm not getting the benefit.
And do you think that stance there is okay?
Yeah, I think you look much better. Your eyes are still nicely over the ball, which is great. And you can definitely see there's less sort of wrist movement at impact, which is another fantastic thing because that's going to allow you to get consistency on your putts. Yeah, and then what you're seeing there is your data's still as good. If anything, your rotation just slightly came down as well, which is great. You're still maintaining a really good launch.
Yep.
Strike hasn't moved at all. So all these subtle changes just to get you a little bit more comfortable and less hand action are really making a big difference. That's it. Just come up a little bit for me. There you go. Yeah.
And I've pushed that a little bit down the left, but that's probably an alignment thing as much as anything.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to see. So just to give you an idea, the Quintic system will let you see where you are as you line it up. So obviously when they calibrated you in, we got you nice and square, we got your putter there. You can then see you're setting up on that last putt, you were a degree open.
Yep.
And then from there, you made the change, that's that action of slightly closing it over. So you got it, you finished at impact 0.50 close.
Yep.
Still good enough to hold it from 8 feet. But yeah, that's going to be the change as you get a little bit more up and you're using your body. Your natural alignment will have to come straighter because you won't need to manipulate the putt as much.
Yep.
Well, from a putting element of the putter you're using, so far the data would say there's definitely not really that many changes we need to make.
Great.
A little bit taller for me, that's it.
I keep natural instincts to want to go there, I've got to just stay there.
Yeah, that's lovely. Well done. Yeah.
Again, that felt to me, maybe it's that I do feel like the toe still wants to turn over, but
yeah. I mean, so there
started up a bit squarer to start, but I still
Yeah.
closed the face, right?
Yeah, fractionally, but it was less. So when you think of you were a degree open on the last one,
And
then you went to 0.5
Yeah.
closed, you were 0.37 degrees open on this one, and you only went to 0.65. So you went from a degree and a half to a degree.
Yeah.
So in one part, you made a change already,
Yeah.
which is fantastic because that means you adapted quite well, so you can quickly change over to what you're doing. Yeah, so to me, that's the first part that I've watched with the putter that you didn't look like you did as much of that. It just looked like, okay, you let the putter swing. Be interested to see what the data tells us. Yeah, there you go. So you've got a blue face angle again.
Yep.
Your speed's great. Your rotation was actually down at its lowest so far.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, obviously we don't want it to drop so far down that we've got no rotation, we need some. But yeah, what you presented there, just a tiny, tiny little bit off strike, which is why our launch is probably fractionally, I mean, half a degree high, but that's it.
Yeah.
In UK golf, I actually don't mind a touch higher than lower because our greens tend to be a little bit woollier, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
So all round launch angle, just over the 2 degree mark, we'll take that. But yeah, I mean, everything else you're doing there, your face angle, your speed, face rotation, they're all great numbers, and hence why it led to what you're doing there. Okay, let's do a quick alignment test and let's see what you're seeing visually.
Yep.
And that might just give us a little bit more info into how you see the putt itself, or how you're seeing the line on your putter, the line on the ball. So yeah, this is a great sort of alignment tool. Really good and available online, and you can sort of use this at home. It's called a T-rail. What's also great is you can actually use it for putting, so you can put the ball on the rail itself and try and putt it.
So keeping the ball on the rail all the way along the rail.
Yeah, because that would basically, if you're not doing that, essentially what that means is that you're either closing or you're manipulating the putt.
Yep.
Now, again, that's what I said of the ball could end up in the hole, but you might find you've had to do something that's not going to be consistent.
So am I putting it behind you?
Yeah, so you're going to put it behind that T-rail, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take your setup, so obviously we'll do the new setup. Okay, so what you're going to first look at is you're going to look up and down the actual rail part towards the hole, and you're going to sort of tell me where you feel like that line's pointing.
I definitely see it left.
Okay.
Left edge is where I see it.
Okay, perfect.
Probably just a fraction inside the hole, but definitely not square.
Okay, that's fine. So with that...
Interestingly, the first thing I also saw is when I put my putter behind it, I've got the putter open.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the other thing. It gives you a nice indication because it's square on. Essentially, you can see there you're still a little bit. So if I was just to, that would almost be you square.
I need to be there, don't I? There at the start.
Yeah. So then if you ignore the line here and actually use your putter facing the block and look up and down and use that block shape to look at the hole, where would you say you'd see that block? Because it'd be interesting.
In what context? Like perpendicular to the
Yeah,
hole?
that's it. Yeah, so you're seeing that perpendicular shape that way going there with your putter. So you're looking, where would the putter face almost be pointing?
The putter to me now feels like it's pointing right.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where you're making that adjustment.
Yeah.
So essentially when you're seeing, now this is a good thing because you haven't bought a square putter. So this is where like a square shaped putter could actually mislead you, because that would, if you tried to square it off, you'd almost see it as right, so then you would start to open it up more.
I feel like using the line on the top of my putter and drawing that line through, I feel like it's somewhere between the right edge of the cup and the ball.
Yeah.
And even now, the first thing I keep wanting to do is open the face back up, because it just doesn't feel... That's really interesting. I've got to trust that actually needs to start there.
Yeah. We're creatures of habit. You've got into a habit a little bit of just aiming just down the left.
Yeah.
And like I say, we're talking like a degree, maybe just over. And then you've worked it back in. Now, if we can get you better set up with a square, like sort of putter as it lines, you'll be able to sort of allow it to track down there. You won't have to manipulate it anymore.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So is it worth hitting a few with that feeling of the putter line?
Yeah, and we'll just see
what it does.
Yeah, how much it changes.
Huh. First one in a while that's gone straight over the cup.
Yeah, a bit more solid off the hit as well, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, I've probably raced that a little bit by, haven't I? But
yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, but interesting there. You were fractionally, I thought you might have been, you were fractionally closed.
I've gone the other way.
Yeah, but what was really interesting is you limited your rotation there down to its smallest number, which was under half a degree in terms of where you finished the face angle to where it started.
So I've almost gone a little bit over the top in taking that alignment aid away. I've thought I've got to get it closed, got to close it, and probably just done too much, but I've actually maintained it back to that position.
Yeah, so in one case, it's not worked out the best because you've aimed it the wrong direction, but it has worked out the best because you hit it exactly where you were aiming, which, just fractionally closed. The reason why we saw the ball roll over the hole, again, just a fractional toe strike, so it just deflected it back on line. That's much better with the posture there, Luke. It's really good.
That feels quite natural. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but quite relaxed and I feel like I could hit a lot of putts in this posture.
Yeah, it looks more comfortable on your spine and everything as well. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, so the difference between the two, 0.05.
Yeah. So it shows you once you start to get that squaring off, and because you've got really good fundamentals of your acceleration and your rotation, now you present a really great face angle. You got your strike back to the middle, and then we've ended up with a really, really good putt. So really interesting there that the putter actually swung a little bit more cleanly that way back. It was less of a juddery motion, wasn't it?
That was me probably really relaxing the grip off. Which is interesting. It did feel like it came away better, but it's just something I'm not used to. I am probably someone naturally with all of my golf game chokes everything a little bit too hard. All through all the bag, I think I'm guilty of that at times. Yeah,
but it's probably why then when you said I enjoy a thicker grip, by the way, look at your aim and where you finished.
Yeah, minus 0.04 is where I finished, and I started at 0.32, so 0.4 of a degree under that as the
really,
overall.
Really good.
You got one with the line on?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
So I think that's you enjoy the thicker grip because it almost subconsciously rather than consciously feels like the hands get a little bit softer on the grip. If you went to something like a really thin pistol grip, you would probably squeeze it a bit tighter and then you'd really struggle to get the putter away.
Yep.
Yeah, it's much more relaxed now. There's much less going on with the hands.
Yeah, again, it's something that you're used to, but it definitely feels like it's this that wants to move rather than these that want to move.
Yeah, and I think when you look at those numbers, I mean, really it's just a lot of greens there, which is great. I mean, you've got a tiny bit of sort of hook spin, but I mean, it's very, very marginal. It's not enough to make unless you've got literally a really big bouncing golf ball, it's not going to take it offline. So nothing there that I'd worry too much about. Attack angle, you've generally been a little bit more on the upward side, but it's in the amber, it's in a comfortable position. You've not slipped into the red with that. So again, it's not something that needs to drastically change. You're hitting the ball, and this is again a key thing just to those who are wondering of the amount of times I hear people say, I've told to hit up on the ball. Yes, you're going to have a slight attack angle up, that's fine, but don't try and hit the top of the golf ball. You're not going to make it roll anymore. But the key is that you're hitting through the core of the golf ball. And a lot of people, that when they sort of hear the words, don't make the ball skid, but a ball has to skid when there's no way of just getting it to immediately roll. If your skid pattern is consistent because you're hitting the core of the golf ball, generally that means your distance control is going to be consistent. From a putting style, I don't think there's any need to change the putter. If you were obviously saying, if you said to me, I want a new putter, I can't putt with this, obviously we'd look at that and change it. But I think for where you are now, the biggest thing I'd recommend is possibly seeking coaching with someone who's got Sand Putt Lab and just, as you said before, delving into that data a little bit more, just understanding what you do and then getting some feel-based stuff you can take out on the course. That would be your biggest investment in your putting, really. And I think now you're set up in a better place. That actually looks really comfortable as a length. You look really sort of solid over it. So yeah, for me, as much as it's been a putter fitting and we've not tried different putters, I think what we see from the results there of it'd be silly to try a different putter unless you wanted one.
And Tom, I've seen you picked up something very, very similar, which backs up your theory that why would we change it? But just to give me a different feel and something different, what have we gone for?
Yeah, so we've got the Spider Tour, the T7 putters. So these are basically the brand new TaylorMade putters. Yeah, like I say, this would just be part of the fitting process, would be to give you a different feel to your putter, see how the face feels. Again, if it's that like you don't get the enjoyment, we would try putters around this, try and get as close as possible. But yeah, based on the data, it's like we don't want to change a winning sort of strategy. Yeah. So yeah, from here we've got, again, the sort of double bend feature to make it face balanced. We've got the line on top, slightly thinner. So again, it could be interesting to see. But also the contrast of black on white to white on black, that can actually change your eye line as well. So this is, again, we'll figure out as we test this putter what happens and if the data's any better or any worse. Probably
closed it a little bit, maybe?
Maybe a hair's breadth, yeah. No, pretty good, yeah, interesting. So
started closed.
Well, what's really interesting, probably the first time you've done that today, you started a little bit closed, but you actually went back to open, which is weird. Highly unusual for you.
I'm really interested, like you said about the colours. With the all black, it feels like it's easy to get a perpendicular line between the face of the putter and the two lines, almost like a crosshair between the face of the putter and the line on the putter and the ball.
Yeah.
This is probably a little bit more difficult because of the different colours all crossing over each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, yeah, colour choice can be so important in your putter. It's some people, like if you go to the black, all out black putters that they did a few of without a line. You can start to distinguish that. So in some people's eyes, you can distinguish where it's aiming a lot cleaner, but then you put it in other people's hands and actually it makes it even harder to be able to see, and you have to go to more like a chrome putter to be able to pick out the definitions. This is the lovely thing about putting, is there's no right or wrong to that.
Yeah.
It's just what suits the player. And yeah, if you find if you find that line easier on your current putter to really find and line up, that would probably point to making sure you keep that sort of design.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, and I'd say from that point of how you line it up, there's definitely, you can see you don't have the same distinguishment that you have with that. You look like you can put that square.
Yeah.
This just looks like you're trying to find the right point, and again, you're now leaking back to being open and then closing.
Really interesting. So again, for the guys, we'll try and show you a few of the screenshots, but the difference between where I was at my face angle at setup versus my face angle at impact, with my putter, with those changes we made, we were getting somewhere around ½ degree on the good putts. We're now at over 2 degrees, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but to your point of 1 degree for 8 feet, to go from half to 2 is massive, right?
Yeah, well, it's just you're not going to hold a lot of putts there. And interestingly, off that last one as well, your strike on the putter is getting a little bit worse in terms of where you're hitting it on the centre. So,
which I think might just be the colours, the colourway. Which I think that, again, probably, I'm really glad we did it, because I think it's only added a couple more minutes to the video. But what you guys have seen is we've taken 2 putters that, shape-wise, I thought that looks the same. You've just given me the TaylorMade one, but just a few subtle differences of the way the colourway works, even the way the grip is. We're seeing that actually it's still the right shape of putter, but it's not the optimal one of that right shape of putter compared to what I'm currently gaming. Yeah,
you can see your face angle impact. You still produce some good putts. It's not bad data, but it's just not as good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's again backs up that whole what we said of we don't need to change the putter yet.
Yeah.
We've got a good putter, and yeah, it would only be if you were wanting to change we could, but yeah, so far we would have to go down another route to try and find a better one for you, or a style that you can see more clearly.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. I think we should leave it there, but I think it was just good to show guys what would happen if we'd gone to another putter. And I think, if anything, it's just validated what the conclusion was that you'd got to at the start. So I think that's great. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this today, and hopefully it's given you a real good insight into actually what happens in a putter fitting. Also, again, I've said this a few times on a few different videos, how much I love the guys at Precision here. This is what I really, really like about them. The right answer for me is actually to improve my technique, keep the putter that I've got. Actually, Tom said a lot of nice things about my putting stroke today, which is really complimentary and giving me a little bit of confidence to go away and work on those things. And actually, it's going to save me a few quid at the process. And I think that's definitely why you should come to a place like Precision, get your putter fittings, get your club fittings here, because they will find the right answer for you. And sometimes the right answer, as much as we might not want to hear it, is the club is right. You just need to go and do a little bit more of improvement with your technique. But Tom, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, mate. I really, really appreciate it.
Great job.
If you like the video, guys, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'd love to film a few more things here at Precision Golf with the guys. I really enjoy spending time here. So if you can let us know what you think in the comments as well. The guys might be willing to let me film a few more things here in the future.